Hey, this is Greg Johnson with Produce Blue Book, and I'm here today with our retail editor, Pamela Schneider. At least I think that's you over there, Miss Hot Pepper. It's, in case our audience doesn't know, this weekend is Cinco de Mayo.
Yep, and I have the appropriate prop department for it, of course.
I have a prop department, but it's not king size, so I can't.
Well, I do have a reason for wearing this, and I'll get to it in a minute. What I was looking for is one of the sessions at Viva Fresh last week in San Antonio talked about did organic produce peak? And of course, Steve Lurch, who was a Google executive and is now a digital consultant, showed a lot of tips and tricks for Google Trends, something that I've been using for years. I love Google Trends. But he showed that the search velocity, or the number of times consumers are searching for organic produce, actually peaked more than a decade ago in 2004. And I think everyone in the room was like, huh? What? I mean, if we had the sound effects, it would be that record scratch kind of thing, which most of the millennials in there would not know what that noise actually is.
Right.
But do you think organic produce peaked in 2004? I don't think so.
I think that takes a little deeper look.
Yeah, it does. It does take a little deeper look. So I went on to Google Trends, and if you haven't done it before, you can do it. It's very easy to do and search on all kinds of different things. And I searched for organic produce, and I did show that the trend line for organic produce is going like this. However, if you stay in that food and drink category and just search for organic, the trend line is going like this. Organic fruit is going like this. Organic strawberries are going like this. So what do you think this tells us, Greg?
Well, to me, it tells me that, at first it's shocking, but the more you just think about it, organic produce is by far the biggest organic mainstream item. So after a while, people understand it, don't need to Google organic produce anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly what it told me, is that people aren't Googling organic produce, but maybe they're Googling something they saw in the Dirty Dozen. Maybe they're Googling something new and wanting to learn what's new in organics. But organic produce is old news for a lot of consumers. So
it's certainly accepted in the marketplace by consumers.
Yes. While I was on Google Trends, since I've been using it for a couple of years, I picked a trend out of a hat. And I remember we were having our discussion about trends for 2019, and you said you were going to check back on me and make sure that I've actually know my stuff. Well, I picked one a couple of years ago based on what I see in my marketplace and what I'm seeing out there on Instagram and with influencers, and we'll get to those in a minute. Elote, or street corn. It's something that's pretty common around here. I saw it promoted for Cinco de Mayo at a lot of retailers, and I checked on the Google trend line for elote while I was there looking for organic produce, and it's like this. It's so satisfying. It's so nice to have that validation, to see that something like that is continuing to trend upward. And this is just kind of another reminder for retailers to promote that. It's super easy to promote. It's just corn and chili and lime and a little bit of cheese, and it's delicious.
Well, one of the sessions at the PBH conference I was at last week had just a small segment on really trendy things over the last 4 years, and the elote was number 2 on the vegetable list of foods and menus over the last 4 years.
See, and you could even buy it at Costco now in a giant bag in the freezer section, but it's way better if you roast the corn and do it fresh.
You mean it's not good just to take it out of the bag and put it in the microwave?
I mean, you could. If you wanted to dress up some blah frozen corn, you probably could, but it's way better if you do it. It's more fun of it. It's the experience of it. Isn't this what we're talking about, making produce exciting by making it an experience?
Of course.
And let me tell you, like rolling an ear of corn in cream and then cheese and then all the stuff that goes on it, the chili pepper that goes on it, way more of an experience. So speaking of influencers, we discussed them a little bit. You've got a new story talking about PBH's new influencer network. I'm sure there's a lot of questions about what people are going to see out of that going forward.
Well, yeah, when I first heard about the network, my first question, like a lot of people, is what does this mean? I mean, who are they? What kind of audience are we talking about? And so I want to dig into a little bit more about who they are, who they reach, and what they're going to accomplish over the next year. PBH got agreements with more than a dozen social media and otherwise nutrition experts, professionals, and they have an agreement to promote fruits and vegetables, including the Have a Plant. And so in my story, I just kind of tell who they are, who their network is. And one of the interesting things that CEO Wendy Reinhardt-Capsack told me was they got a broad group of people who reach different audiences. But part of what's in it for these people is PBH has a huge social network, and they have for a long time. They have over 1 million followers on, likes on Facebook. They have over 60,000 people on Twitter. I mean, they have a huge network too. So for these social influencers, they get access to PBH's network too.
All right, so there's some return on investment, but it's again something that we'll be keeping an eye on to see how that's grown the network for both of them going forward.
Yeah, we'll see how much they're promoting Have a Plant and how much it's taken off. If they can do this after a while.
Well, and the last thing that we're going to talk about today is the Sprouts Farmers Market just had its quarterly report, and you know, I keep an eye on these because you always want to know what's going on with the retailers. And what was fascinating is that they've grown their grocery delivery 60% year over year. Those are some big numbers they're putting up. Of course, when you're just getting started, growth rate is a lot faster than it will be once it's well established. But the other thing that I saw is that they're putting a big emphasis, and they're seeing a lot of success from some of the enhancements that they've been doing in store. And I saw some of those when I went to the Sprouts in Philadelphia. It's a little bit different than mine here in Cedar Park, Texas. They've got the full service deli and more bakery items and more take-home meals. And what was really fascinating to me when I went to that Sprouts in Philadelphia is that if you're just looking straight down at the produce, it looks exactly the same as every other Sprouts out there. Maybe there's a little bit of regional shift between, you know, what's on the shelf, but it tells me that they've pretty much got produce figured out with their customers, and now they're just adding all these other things into their store to make it a more of a full service market.
Yeah, it's a great sign that they really feel like they have a successful model in produce, and you know, produce is a huge part of their store's image already. So, you know, their customers feel like they're delivering on that promise.
They plan to open close to 30 stores this year, and then they said that next year all of the new store openings should have these enhancements in them. So expect, I bet they'll go through and add them back to older stores as they move forward with these plans. So that's this week's Produce Reporter newsletter week in review. If you are not currently receiving the Produce Reporter newsletter, go to producebluebook.com and sign up.
Yep, it's free.